The research ship Soul's Pride moved slowly through the dark space around the Viridian system. Inside the ship, Dr. Hana Kim looked out the window at the strange purple moon ahead of them. She had been studying aliens for 10 years, but she had never seen anything like this place before. "Hana, we're getting close," said Taeho Park from his seat near the controls. He was the head of security for their small team. His job was to keep everyone safe during this first meeting with a new alien race. Taeho had fought in 3 wars before joining the space program. His hands were always ready to reach for his weapon. Sora Lee sat at the communication desk, listening to the strange sounds coming from the purple moon. She was the best at talking to aliens that humanity had ever trained. The sounds from the moon were like music, but not like any music humans had ever heard. It was like someone was playing a song with glass bells and wind chimes all at the same time. "The sounds are getting stronger," Sora said. "I think they know we're here." Dongwoo Choi was checking his medical equipment in the back of the ship. As the team doctor, he needed to be ready in case anyone got hurt during the meeting. He also studied how alien bodies worked, which might be important if they needed to help their new alien friends. "Everyone ready?" Hana asked her team. They had been traveling for 6 months to reach this place. Earth's government had sent them to meet with the crystalline hegemony, a group of aliens made of living crystal. These aliens had been taking over star systems for the past 50 years. Some people on Earth thought they were dangerous. Others believed they might become friends if humans talked to them the right way. The Soul's Pride moved closer to the purple moon. As they got nearer, Hana could see that the moon's surface was covered in tall crystal towers that grew up from the ground like frozen trees. The towers were all different colors: purple, blue, green, and gold. They seemed to glow with their own light. "Look at that," whispered Taeho. Even though he was a soldier, he had to admit the Crystal City was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. Suddenly, their ship's radio came alive with the crystal music. But now Sora could hear that it wasn't just random sounds. There were patterns in the music, like someone was trying to talk to them. "I think they're giving us directions," Sora said, working quickly at her controls. "They want us to land at the big tower in the center of the city." As their ship moved toward the landing area, 3 crystal beings came out to meet them. The aliens were twice as tall as humans and looked like they were made of purple and blue glass. When they moved, their bodies made soft ringing sounds like someone gently tapping a wine glass. "Remember," Hana told her team as they prepared to leave the ship, "we don't know how they think or what makes them angry. Stay calm, be polite, and follow my lead." The 4 humans put on their spacesuits and walked out of their ship. The crystal beings stood waiting for them. Up close, Hana could see that the aliens had faces, but they were not like human faces. Their eyes were like smooth gems, and they had no mouths. The sounds they made seemed to come from their entire bodies. One of the crystal beings stepped forward. It was bigger than the others and had more gold color mixed in with its purple crystals. When it moved, the sound it made was deeper and more complex than the others. Sora held up her translation device and listened carefully to the crystal being's sounds. After a few minutes, she nodded to Hana. "I think this one is their leader for this meeting. It's saying something like welcome and follow. They want to take us to someone important." The crystal beings turned and started walking toward the biggest tower in the city. The humans followed, looking around in wonder at the crystal buildings that surrounded them. Everything was made of the same glowing crystal, but each building had different colors and patterns. Some towers twisted up into the sky like frozen tornadoes. Others grew in perfect geometric shapes that hurt to look at for too long. As they walked, more crystal beings came out to watch the humans pass by. Some were small, only a little taller than humans. Others were giants, 3 or 4 times the height of a person. All of them made the same musical sounds when they moved. "There are so many of them," Dongwoo said quietly into his radio. "And look how they're all watching us," Taeho replied. His hand moved closer to his weapon, but he didn't draw it. He knew that starting a fight here would be the end for all of them. They reached the entrance to the great tower. The crystal beings led them inside, and Hana gasped at what she saw. The inside of the tower was hollow, going up so high that she couldn't see the top. Crystal bridges crossed the empty space at different levels, connecting to rooms carved into the walls. But what made Hana's breath catch in her throat were the things scattered around the bottom of the great tower. They looked like statues of different kinds of aliens, all perfectly detailed and beautiful. But something about them felt wrong. They looked too real, too perfect, like they had been alive when someone turned them into crystal. "Hana," Sora whispered. "I don't think those are statues." Before Hana could respond, the crystal music around them grew much louder. The sound seemed to come from everywhere at once, and Hana felt it vibrating in her bones. At the far end of the great tower, something huge began to move. A crystal being 15 feet tall rose from what looked like a throne made of pure purple crystal. This being was more complex than any of the others they had seen. Its body shifted between different colors as it moved, and the sounds it made were like an entire orchestra playing at once. "The Queen," Sora breathed into her radio. Queen Velandra, ruler of the crystalline hegemony, looked down at the 4 small humans standing in her throne room. When she moved, every crystal in the tower rang in harmony with her. The sound was so beautiful and so powerful that Hana felt tears come to her eyes. But around the Queen, 12 enormous crystal warriors stood ready. Each one was 10 feet tall and carried weapons that looked like they were grown from pure crystal. When the Queen moved, they moved with her. When she stopped, they stopped. These were the Resonance Guard, the Queen's personal protectors. And, as Queen Velandra began to make her musical speech, Hana realized that this meeting would decide not just whether humans and crystals could be friends, but whether humanity would survive the encounter at all. Queen Velandra's music filled the great crystal tower like thunder made of glass. Sora worked frantically with her translation device, trying to understand what the giant crystal queen was saying. The sounds were more complex than anything she had ever heard before. "She's talking about testing," Sora said, her voice tight with worry. "Something about proving we're worthy. I can't get all of it, but it doesn't sound good." Hana looked up at the massive queen who towered over them like a living mountain of purple and gold crystal. The 12 resonance guards around the queen had not moved, but their crystal weapons were humming with a low, dangerous sound. "What kind of test?" Hana asked, though she was afraid to hear the answer. The queen's music changed, becoming sharper and more commanding. The crystal beings who had led the humans into the tower stepped forward. Without warning, they moved to separate Hana's team. "Wait!" Teho shouted, reaching for his weapon, but before he could draw it, 2 of the resonance guards stepped between him and Hana. The sound they made was like breaking glass, clearly a warning. "Don't fight them," Hana said quickly. "We knew this might happen. Stick to the plan." The plan had been simple. If they were separated, each team member would try to learn as much as possible about the crystal aliens while staying alive. They would meet back at the ship in 24 hours if possible. Teho and Sora were led away by several crystal beings toward what looked like viewing platforms high up on the tower walls. Dongwu was taken toward a different area that seemed to glow with soft blue light, probably some kind of medical center. This left Hana alone in the great throne room with Queen Velandra and her 12 guards. The queen made more musical sounds, and one of the smaller crystal beings moved forward with what looked like a translation device of their own. Through the device, the queen's voice came out in broken but understandable human language. "You, leader." "Yes? You speak for small soft ones?" "Yes," Hana said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I speak for humanity. We came here hoping we could be friends." The queen's crystal body shifted colors, moving from purple to deep red and back again. "Friend, difficult. First, you must prove your people, and can they survive, can they grow, or will they break like others?" The queen gestured toward the crystal statues scattered around the base of the tower. Now that Hana looked more carefully, she could see that they weren't just statues. They had been living beings once, aliens from different worlds, all perfectly preserved in crystal. Their faces were frozen in expressions of surprise or fear. "What happened to them?" Hana asked, though she was starting to understand. "They took the test," the queen said through her device. "They failed. Now they are beautiful, perfect, but not alive." A chill ran down Hana's spine. And if I fail this test, you join them. But if you pass, the queen's colors shifted to gold and white. Your people may join the hegemony, you may become crystal, live forever, never change, never die. Hana thought about her team, about Earth, about all the humans back home who were waiting to hear if this mission would bring peace or war. What is the test? The queen rose from her crystal throne. As she moved, every crystal in the tower began to resonate with her. The sound was incredible, like 1,000 church bells all ringing in perfect harmony. The crystal chorus, the queen said. It will show us what you truly are. If you are weak, it will break you. If you are strong but cannot change, it will make you crystal like us. If you are strong and can grow. She paused. No one has ever been both strong and able to grow. That is why they all became crystal. The resonance guards moved into position around Hana. Their crystal weapons began to glow brighter and the humming sound they made grew louder. Hana realized the weapons weren't just tools for fighting. They were part of the test itself. I don't have a choice, do I? Hana asked. All have choice, the queen said. You can leave now. Take your people. Go back to your world. We will not follow yet. But one day, we will come to your world too. And then all your people will face the chorus. Hana thought about this. If she left now, humanity would have a few more years to prepare for war, but they would eventually have to fight the crystalline hegemony, and from what she had seen, humans would lose. The crystal beings were too strong, too advanced, but if she took the test and survived, I'll do it, Hana said. The queen's colors shifted to what might have been surprise. You choose the test, knowing you will likely die or become crystal? Yes. The queen made a sound that was almost like laughter, if laughter could be made of crystal music. Interesting. Most beg to leave when they understand. The resonance guards raised their weapons. The crystal spears they carried began to vibrate, creating a sound so pure and powerful that Hana felt it in her bones. The sound built slowly, starting low, and growing higher and more complex. Hana had studied the reports from human scouts who had watched the crystalline hegemony from far away. She knew that this race had conquered 12 different star systems. Every time, they had offered the same choice: join willingly or be destroyed. Most species had chosen to join, only to discover that joining meant being turned into crystal statues. The crystal chorus grew louder. Hana could feel it affecting her body now. Her vision began to blur and she felt dizzy. The sound seemed to be reaching inside her, touching her cells, trying to change them. Around her, the resonance guards stood perfectly still, their weapons creating the harmonic frequency that would either kill her, turn her to crystal, or prove that humans were worthy of something more than death. The queen watched from her throne, her crystal body shifting through different colors as she observed Hana's reaction to the test. In all her long life, Velandra had seen thousands of beings take this test. Most died within the first minute. The stronger ones lasted longer before becoming beautiful crystal sculptures. But as she watched the small human female stand there, swaying but not falling, something strange happened. The human's body was reacting to the crystal chorus, but not in any way the queen had seen before. Instead of breaking apart or beginning to crystallize, the human seemed to be adapting. Her body was finding ways to handle the impossible sound, to bend without breaking, to change without losing what made her human. Hana felt like she was being torn apart and rebuilt at the same time. Every cell in her body was vibrating, but instead of destroying her, the vibration was making her stronger. She didn't understand how or why, but she could feel her body learning how to survive the crystal chorus. The queen leaned forward on her throne, her musical voice filled with something that might have been wonder. In the crystal language, she said something that her translation device couldn't handle. But the meaning was clear to anyone who was listening. Impossible. The crystal chorus had been playing for 10 minutes now and Hana was still standing. Her legs shook and her vision blurred, but she had not fallen. She had not turned to crystal. She had not died. Queen Velandra's colors kept shifting faster and faster as she watched the small humans survive something that should have been impossible. Around the throne room, even the resonance guards seemed confused. Their perfect harmony wavered slightly as they tried to understand what they were seeing. Hana felt like every bone in her body was vibrating. The sound was so intense that she could taste it, could feel it moving through her blood like electricity. But her body kept adapting, kept finding new ways to handle the impossible frequency that should have killed her. Then something unexpected happened. During their walk to the throne room, Hana had cut her hand on a sharp piece of crystal debris. It was a tiny cut, barely noticeable. She had forgotten about it completely during the stress of meeting the queen and beginning the test. But now, as her body vibrated with the crystal chorus, the small wound opened again. 3 drops of bright red human blood fell from her hand and hit the crystal floor of the throne room. The moment Hana's blood touched the alien crystal, everything changed. The crystal chorus stopped so suddenly that the silence felt like a physical blow. Every crystal being in the throne room froze. Queen Velandra made a sound like a mountain of glass falling downstairs. Where Hana's blood had hit the floor, the crystal began to glow with a new color, deep red mixed with gold, pulsing like a heartbeat. The glow spread outward in circles, moving across the floor and up the walls of the great tower. "What?" the queen said through her translation device, her voice filled with something that might have been fear. "What are you?" Hana looked down at the glowing crystals around her feet. She could feel something flowing between her blood and the alien crystal, not just a connection but a recognition, like the crystal was remembering something very old. "I'm human," Hana said simply, but as she said it, she realized that might be more important than she had ever understood. The resonance guards lowered their weapons. Their perfect formation broke as they stepped back from Hana, their crystal bodies making confused, discordant sounds. One of them, the largest, made a low sound that the translation device picked up as ancient, older than the songs. Queen Velandra rose from her throne and walked toward Hana. Each step the giant crystal queen took made the floor ring like a bell, but now there was uncertainty in the sound. "Your blood," the queen said. "It sings to our crystal, but that is impossible. Organic blood should be rejected, destroyed. It should not harmonize with us." Hana looked at her bleeding hand, then at the spreading pattern of red and gold light on the crystal floor. "Maybe it's not about being organic or crystal. Maybe it's about something else." The queen knelt down, an action that seemed to shock her guards, and looked closely at the glowing crystals where Hana's blood had fallen. When she touched the crystal with one massive finger, her body lit up with the same red-gold glow. "I can feel it," the queen whispered. "Your blood carries memory, old memory, memory of surviving." Through the crystal connection, Hana began to sense what the queen was feeling. The blood wasn't just blood. It was a record of every challenge humanity had ever faced and overcome. Every disaster survived, every extinction event beaten, every impossible situation that humans had somehow fought their way through. "Earth," Hana said quietly. "My planet. It tried to kill us for millions of years." The queen's translation device struggled with the concepts Hana was sharing through the blood crystal. Connection. Images flowed between them. Ice ages that should have frozen all life. Asteroid impacts that should have ended everything. Diseases that should have wiped out every human. Wars that should have destroyed civilization. But in every image, humans survived. Not because they were the strongest or the smartest, but because they refused to give up. Because they adapted. Because they found ways to turn every disaster into a source of strength. "Your species," the queen said, her colors shifting to patterns Hana had never seen before. "You are, what do you call it, stubborn?" Hana almost smiled. "Very stubborn." The queen stood up, her massive crystal body towering over Hana again. But now there was no threat in her posture. Instead, there was something that might have been respect. "We have tested thousands of species across many worlds," the queen said. "All failed. Some were strong but could not change. Others could change, but were not strong. You are the first to be both. What does that mean? Hana asked. It means, the queen said, that you are what we have been searching for without knowing it. The red-gold glow from Hana's blood had spread throughout the entire throne room now. All the crystal statues of failed alien species were glowing with the same light. And as they glowed, Hana began to hear something impossible. They were not dead. The crystallized aliens were still alive, still conscious, trapped inside crystal bodies that couldn't move or change. And now, somehow, her blood was connecting with them, too. They're alive, Hana gasped. All of them. They're still alive in there. The queen's colors shifted to what Hana was beginning to recognize as deep sadness. Yes, we preserved them perfectly. We thought it was a gift. They become beautiful, eternal. But they cannot grow, cannot change. We did not understand that this was cruel. Why are you doing this? Hana asked. Why are you taking over star systems and turning everyone to crystal? For a long moment, the queen was silent. When she finally spoke, her voice was filled with an ancient weariness. Because we are dying, she said. The admission seemed to shock the resonance guards as much as it did Hana. Several of them made sounds of distress. We are perfect, the queen continued. Beautiful, strong, eternal, but we cannot change, cannot adapt. The universe changes around us and we stay the same. Slowly, over thousands of years, we become less than we were. We thought if we could find other species to join us, to become like us, we could learn their ability to grow. But turning them to crystal doesn't give you their ability to adapt, Hana realized. It just creates more beings who can't change. Yes, we did not understand this until now. Until your blood showed us what we have been seeking. Hana looked around at the crystal statues. Dozens of different alien species, all trapped in beautiful, perfect crystal prisons. All still conscious after who knows how many years. Can you free them? She asked. The queen's colors shifted through patterns that might have been confusion, hope, and fear all at once. We do not know, she admitted. It has never been tried. To release them from crystal would be to admit that our gift was wrong. Hana felt the connection with her blood and the crystal growing stronger. Through it, she could sense not just the crystallized aliens, but the queen herself. Philandra was ancient, old beyond human understanding. She had ruled the crystalline hegemony for thousands of years, always believing that crystal perfection was the highest form of existence. But now, for the first time, the queen was beginning to doubt. And in that doubt, Hana saw an opportunity that could save not just humanity, but every species the crystalline had ever encountered. Queen Philandra stared at the red-gold glow spreading through her crystal throne room. In all her thousands of years, she had never seen anything like this. The small human female stood in the center of it all, her blood somehow connecting every crystal in the great tower. Show me, the queen said suddenly. Show me your world. Show me how your people learn to survive. Through the blood crystal connection, Hana felt the queen's consciousness touching her mind. It was like having someone made of living music looking through her memories. She took a deep breath and opened her thoughts to share humanity's story. The first image she shared was Earth as it looked from space, a blue and green world that seemed peaceful and beautiful. But then she showed the queen what living on Earth was really like. Volcanoes that could darken the sky for years. Ice ages that turned most of the planet into frozen wasteland. Asteroids crashing into the Earth with enough force to kill almost everything alive. Diseases that spread like wildfire through early human communities. Through the crystal connection, Queen Philandra experienced these disasters as if she had lived through them herself. She felt the terror of early humans hiding in caves while the ground shook from earthquakes. She felt the desperation of families searching for food during famines that lasted for years. But with every disaster, she also felt something else. The human response. When the volcanoes blocked out the sun, humans learned to make fire and hunt in the dark. When the ice came, they learned to make clothes and build better shelters. When diseases struck, they learned to care for the sick and develop medicines. When asteroids hit, the survivors came out of their hiding places and started rebuilding. You never gave up, the queen said, her voice filled with wonder. We couldn't, Hana replied. Giving up meant dying, and humans are too stubborn to die quietly. The queen saw more. Humans surviving the Great Flood by building boats, surviving droughts by digging wells, surviving wars by learning to work together better than ever before. Every challenge that should have destroyed them instead made them stronger and smarter. But then Hana shared something that truly shocked the queen, the darkest parts of human history. Wars where humans fought other humans, times when people were cruel to each other for no good reason, mistakes that cost millions of lives. You show me your failures too, the queen said. Why? Because that's part of who we are, Hana explained. We make mistakes, sometimes terrible ones, but we learn from them. We get better. We change. Through the connection, the queen felt something she had never experienced before. The human ability to feel shame about past actions and use that shame to become better people. Crystal beings like herself had never known regret because they never changed. They did what they thought was right and never questioned it later. Your people, the queen said slowly. You call yourselves, what is the word? Blood Wardens? The term had come through the crystal connection, but Hana had never heard it before. Yet somehow it felt right. I guess we are, she said. We guard the idea that no matter how bad things get, you keep fighting. You keep trying to survive and get better. Meanwhile, in other parts of the Crystal City, Hana's team members were making their own discoveries. Taiho and Sora had been taken to viewing chambers high up in the Crystal Tower. Through transparent crystal walls, they could see the entire Crystal City spread out below them. But they could also see something else, thousands of crystal beings standing perfectly still throughout the city. They're not moving, Taiho said. None of them. They're just standing there. Sora was recording everything with her equipment. I think they're sleeping, or meditating. But look at how they're positioned. The crystal beings below were arranged in perfect geometric patterns throughout the city. Every movement was coordinated. Every position was precise. It was beautiful, but it was also troubling. They don't do anything random, Sora realized. Everything is planned, organized, perfect. There's no chaos at all. No chaos means no creativity, Taiho said. No surprises. No growth. In the medical area, Dongwu was learning something even more disturbing. The crystal beings had brought him to what they thought was a place of healing, but it looked more like a museum to him. Dozens of different alien species were preserved in crystal, each one perfectly healthy and beautiful. The crystal beings seemed proud of their collection, making musical sounds that his translation device interpreted as joy and accomplishment. But when Dongwu looked closer at the crystallized aliens, he noticed something the crystal beings had missed. The aliens were still alive inside the crystal, but they were also slowly dying. Not their bodies. Those were preserved perfectly, but their minds, their spirits, their sense of self was gradually fading away. How long have they been like this? Dongwu asked through his translator. The crystal being attending him made a sound that translated as, some for 1,000 years. Are they not beautiful? Are they not perfect? Dongwu felt sick. 1,000 years of being trapped, unable to move, unable to speak, slowly losing your mind while everyone around you thought they were taking care of you. Back in the throne room, Queen Valandra was beginning to understand the full horror of what her people had been doing for so long. Through Hana's blood connection, she was experiencing human emotions for the first time. She felt what it was like to be trapped, to be unable to change or grow. She felt the slow madness that came from being perfectly preserved, but completely helpless. We have been cruel, the queen said, the words coming out broken and distorted through her translation device. We thought we were giving gifts, we were giving prisons. You didn't know, Hana said. Your people have never experienced being trapped like that. How could you understand? But the queen's colors shifted to deep purple and black, colors that meant shame and sorrow in the crystal language. We should have asked. We should have listened. The red-gold glow from Hana's blood was now connecting to crystal beings throughout the city. Through the connection, Hana could sense thousands of crystal minds all experiencing human emotions for the first time. Confusion, wonder, fear, and something else. Hope. "There's something you need to know," Hana said. "My people aren't perfect, either. We've made mistakes, done terrible things, but we've learned that the most important thing is being able to change, to grow, to become better than we were." "Can we learn this?" the Queen asked. "Can crystal beings change?" Hana looked at the massive alien ruler, seeing past the intimidating size and alien beauty to the frightened, lonely being underneath. The crystalline hegemony had spent thousands of years searching for something they didn't understand, taking over worlds and destroying species in their desperate quest to learn how to grow. "I think so," Hana said. "But first, you have to free all the people you've trapped in crystal. You have to give them back their ability to choose." The Queen was quiet for a long time. Around them, the resonance guards stood frozen, waiting to see what their ruler would decide. This was the moment that would determine the fate of dozens of species and the future of an entire galactic empire. Finally, Queen Velandra made a sound like crystal bells ringing in harmony. Through her translation device, she spoke words that would change everything. "Then let us learn to set them free." The process of freeing the crystallized beings was harder than anyone had expected. Queen Velandra and her crystal technicians had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of preserving organic life in crystal. They had never tried to reverse. Hana stood in the center of the throne room, her hand still bleeding where she had opened the cut wider to maintain the blood crystal connection. Through this link, she could feel the minds of every trapped being in the Crystal City. Some had been prisoners for decades. Others had been locked in crystal for over 1,000 years. "The process will be dangerous," the Queen admitted. "We do not know if their bodies can survive returning to organic form after so long. We do not know if their minds are still whole. But we have to try," Hana said. Taiho, Sora, and Dongwu had been brought back to the throne room to witness what might be the most important moment in galactic history. The three humans watched as dozens of crystalline hegemony technicians worked around the first subject they would attempt to free, a being that looked like it had once been some kind of reptilian alien, now preserved in blue-green crystal. "Hana," Dongwu said quietly, "I've been studying their preservation process. I think the reason it's so hard to reverse is because the crystal doesn't just cover the body. It replaces parts of it. Their bones, their blood vessels, even parts of their nervous system have been turned to crystal. So freeing them means rebuilding them from the inside out," Dongwu finished. "It's like performing surgery on someone while they're made of glass." Queen Velandra had been listening to their conversation through the blood crystal connection. Her massive form shifted colors as she considered the problem. "There may be another way," she said. "Your blood, human Hana. It does not just connect with our crystal. It seems to remember what organic life should be like. Perhaps it can guide the change." It was a desperate plan, but it was the only plan they had. Hana knelt beside the crystallized reptilian being and placed her bleeding hand on its crystal chest. Through the blood connection, she could feel the alien's mind, confused, frightened, but still aware after all these years of imprisonment. "I'm going to try to help you," she said, though she wasn't sure if the being could hear her. The Queen and her technicians began the reversal process. It started with harmonic frequencies, the same crystal chorus that had tested Hana, but played in reverse. The crystal began to vibrate, and slowly, parts of it started to change back to organic tissue. But the process was chaotic, dangerous. Without Hana's blood to guide it, the reversal would have killed the being instantly. Through the connection, she could feel the alien's body trying to remember how to be alive, how to breathe, how to have a heartbeat. "It's working," Dongwu said, monitoring the being's vital signs with his medical equipment. "Heart rate is weak but steady. Brain activity is increasing." The crystal shell around the reptilian alien cracked and fell away in pieces. Underneath was living flesh, gray-green skin, scales, working lungs. The being's eyes opened for the first time in 300 years. It tried to speak, but only a whisper came out. Sora quickly moved forward with her translation device. After a few moments, she looked up at Hana with tears in her eyes. "He says thank you," Sora reported. "He says he thought he was going to be trapped forever." The success of the first reversal sent waves of hope through the crystal connection. All across the city, crystallized beings who had felt the process through Hana's blood began to believe that freedom was possible. But Queen Valandra was facing a crisis of her own. "My people are afraid," she told Hana privately through the blood connection. "For thousands of years we have believed that crystal form was perfect, that organic life was inferior. Now we learn we have been wrong. Some of my subjects are angry." Through the connection, Hana could sense the unrest spreading through the crystalline hegemony. Not all of the crystal beings were ready to accept that their entire way of life had been based on a mistake. Some of them wanted to continue the old ways, to keep expanding across the galaxy and turning other species to crystal. "Change is hard," Hana said, "even when you know it's right." "What if we cannot change?" the Queen asked. "What if some of us refuse?" Hana thought about human history, about all the times when part of humanity had to drag the rest forward into a better future. Then the ones who want to change will have to be patient with the ones who don't, and the ones who don't want to change will have to learn that they can't stop the ones who do. Over the next several hours, they managed to free 12 more crystallized beings. Each success made the process a little easier, a little safer. Hana's blood seemed to be learning how to guide the reversals more effectively. But the real breakthrough came when one of the resonance guards, the massive crystal warriors who had been ready to kill Hana just hours earlier, volunteered to attempt a partial reversal on himself. "I want to understand," he said through the translation system. "I want to know what it feels like to change." The process was different for a crystal being than for the organic aliens who had been crystallized. Instead of returning to organic form, the resonance guard allowed parts of his crystal structure to become more flexible, more capable of adaptation. The result was incredible. For the first time in his existence, the guard could change his shape, alter his color, even modify his harmonic frequency. He was still made of crystal, but he was no longer trapped by crystal perfection. "This is," the guard said, his voice filled with wonder as he shifted from purple to gold to green. "This is like being born." The success inspired other crystal beings to try partial reversals. Soon, dozens of crystalline hegemony citizens were experimenting with change, with adaptation, with growth. Queen Valandra made her own choice. Instead of a partial reversal, she chose to undergo a complete transformation, not to organic form, but to a new kind of crystal being that could change and grow while still maintaining her essential nature. The process was dangerous for someone as old and complex as the Queen. Hana had to maintain the blood connection for hours while Valandra's massive crystal form slowly reconfigured itself. When it was finished, the Queen was still 15 feet tall and still made of crystal, but now her body could adapt, could learn, could grow. "I feel," the Queen said, her voice full of amazement, "like I have been asleep for 1,000 years and just woke up." 3 days later, Hana stood in the great throne room, but it looked very different now. The rigid geometric perfection was gone, replaced by organic curves and flowing patterns. Crystal beings and freed organic aliens worked together to redesign the city, making it a place where both kinds of life could thrive. "So what happens now?" Teho asked. Hana looked around at the bustling activity. Crystal beings were learning to change and adapt. Freed organic aliens were sharing their cultures and knowledge. The rigid crystalline hegemony was transforming into something new, a cooperative alliance where different kinds of beings could live and grow together. "Now we build something better," she said. The crystalline had strength and knowledge but couldn't change. The organic species could change but weren't strong enough to resist conquest. Together, maybe we can have both. Queen Valandra approached them, her crystal form now flowing and graceful instead of rigid and imposing. "We have decided to call this new alliance the Adaptive Collective," she announced, "and we would like humanity to be our first official partners." Sora stepped forward. What would that partnership look like? We will share our technology and knowledge, the Queen said. You will help us continue to learn how to change and grow. Together, we will visit the worlds we have conquered and offer the same choice to everyone: freedom to leave, freedom to join as they are, or freedom to explore new ways of existing. Dongwu was busy treating the freed aliens, many of whom needed medical care after their long imprisonment. Some of them are going to need years of recovery, he reported, and some might never fully adjust to being free again. Then we'll take care of them, Hana said, for as long as it takes. As the Soul's Pride prepared to return to Earth with news of humanity's first successful first contact, Hana stood on the Crystal City's highest platform, looking out at the stars. Teho joined her. Do you think this will work? This alliance between crystal and organic life? I don't know, Hana said honestly. It's never been tried before. We're all going to make mistakes, probably big ones, but that's okay. How is making mistakes okay? Hana smiled, thinking about everything humanity had learned over millions of years of surviving on a world that kept trying to kill them. Because that's how you learn to get better. Crystal beings spent thousands of years avoiding mistakes by never changing. Look where that got them. And humans? Humans make mistakes all the time, but we're still here, still growing, still getting stronger. She gestured toward the busy city below, where crystal beings and organic aliens were working together to build something completely new. And now we're not alone anymore. In the months that followed, the adaptive collective grew. More crystal beings chose to learn adaptation. More organic species were freed and given real choices about their futures. And humanity found itself in the unique position of being the teachers, the ones who could show the galaxy how to survive by never giving